For a very long time, News24 was built to be a very pure aggregator app. What happened subsequently, and I think it's a really, really important change, is that News24 started investing in journalists. Because if everybody is going to aggregate everybody else who aggregates, there will be no original news reporting.
We used to use SMS alerts, which was not kind of the same as a push notification that goes to an app. So it usually used to be an SMS alert. I remember we could only send out 2 or 3 a month, so you had to choose very carefully. So it was quite a balancing act there doing that. But with 9/11, hey, literally, I think News24 was the go-to site, apart from the international sites at the time.
The biggest thing for us was that we never had an English daily before News24. It was our first daily product. So from that perspective, it broke new ground. I think internally it was a revolution, because News24 didn't grow from a print publication. It was an internet-first, pure play native operation, and from that point of view, it set new rules.
At the beginning, digital was new. When I came in, we used to do the banners and buttons, but now things have evolved to where we can implement AI into advertising. Programmatic advertising came on board, video advertising, mobile phones evolved, it just blew.
A lot of us were fresh at News24. You think you have high load and everything's going well, and then something happens in the news, and the next minute the site goes down, and you see everybody running around, fixing websites, screaming at each other, not really sure what we were doing. And we had a lot of scale for what we were doing, which nobody else in South Africa had. So it wasn't like you could walk out of the building and go ask somebody for some help. So we were fixing problems that nobody else had before, which is really interesting. I mean, that was the exciting part of life during those times. Sometimes you had 72-hour days just to get through a breaking story, but that was part of the fun. It was interesting growing up with the brand.
I joined News24 in April 2016 as editor, and at the time News24 has just been starting to go through a revolution from a publication that mainly published wire copy and did aggregation to having our own reporters, our own journalists, our own brands. At the time we also had, obviously there were issues around the comment section of News24, which became a bit of a cesspit for racists and any kind of phobes. We then made a decision to remove that from our platform after receiving a lot of complaints on how that negatively influences people reader experience, and rather to take that interaction with our readers to social media, which is why we're still active on Facebook and Twitter.
There are many different ways in which anyone could view News24. You could compare it to our other online competitors, in which case you will find that the ranking of News24 is fairly high. I think the second competitor is probably half the size of News24. You could compare it in the sense of already existing traditional media such as print and television, because it's a brand name, it's a household name, and in the same instance you'll find that News24 ranks quite highly. In fact, very few people know that News24 has been around for as long as Google, which is just around 20 years for both.
The thing that we can be the proudest of is how exceptionally well News24 has followed that migration of its users onto the much more intimate medium of the mobile phone. It requires different packaging, and News24's success in that is reflected in the fact that, depending on the day, between 70% and 90% of our audience is mobile. And the sheer scale of that audience is reflected in the News24 app.
I think if I look back recently, what stands out for me is the elections, the maps, that kind of thing. I mean, I remember when way back when, There was a team of 2 of us that covered the national elections. 2 people. Running the site, stealing from everywhere. Well, stealing, borrowing, I suppose. I think we're still going to stay the market leaders, but I think our focus needs to be on retaining the audience that we do have, growing a younger audience, but without kind of antagonizing the audience that you do have already.
We are such a trusted platform of breaking news, and in this era, trust is specifically important. You know, you need your readers to trust you. You have to get it right. Obviously, we will sometimes make mistakes, and then we have to quickly apologize and admit our mistakes. But I think News24 is stronger than it's ever been. It is a digital news brand for the future. We have a team of young, passionate journalists, videographers, content producers who go there every day, tell the stories. We have readers sending us their stories. We're starting to produce more documentaries and podcasts. We are at the cutting edge of digital storytelling, and also obviously supported by a fantastic team of developers and engineers who make sure that this lovely content that we produce is also distributed and being consumed by our readers on the right platforms, which is obviously mobile in this day and age.
There are 2 top things that I can mention that I hear all the time. The first is, if it's not on News24, it didn't happen. And that's what a lot of people believe. So when something they hear about or something they see, they search for it or they go onto News24 and they confirm whether or not, you know, that event has actually taken place.
If you are not completely on top of consumer trends as well as tech trends, you will lag behind the rest. News24, I believe, knows these things. They follow trends, international trends very carefully. And yes, nobody can predict what will happen in 5 or 10 years' time, but I'm quite sure that News24 will always be at the forefront of news and analysis in South Africa.
So previously on the commercial side, it was all about reach and scale. Put your ad on our platform and you know that you will reach a lot of people. Now we offer our commercial partners an intelligently profiled audience at scale in a contextually relevant, brand-safe environment with high engagement and high viewability. That is the holy grail in terms of what they are looking for. And a commercially sound media business means proper investment in the core media business, which is editorial. So with all of that, I see News24 going from strength to strength over the next decade of its lifespan.